you get it back, that person's long gone. You don't have them to reprint, you know.
Well, that's the thing about the time it took for us to process an inked fingerprint card. With the live scan technology, those cards from that machine are electronically transmitted to us. We turn that card around in less than 1 hour. So what used to take in-state roughly 10 days, we now do in under 1 hour. So before that individual can make bail, because he's given a false name or false identity to the police department, we're alerting the police department this individual has a record, this is who he or she really is, and they don't make bail. And that's the advantage. Now, probably within the next month or so, we're going to establish a connection to the FBI. And that's called AFIS, the Integrated Automated Fingerprint Identification System. I have to keep my alphabet straight.
Absolutely.
But that will give us the ability to electronically transmit criminal cards directly to the FBI. And the FBI promises a 2-hour turnaround.
Wow.
So if an individual police department has a live scan fingerprint machine, you get that person fingerprinted on that live scan machine, just try to hold on to him for about 3 hours. And he will be searched not only in the state's database, but in the national database. And I don't think it gets really much better than that. We've actually automated it to the point where criminal records are now being automatically built based on those fingerprint submissions. In the past, we had clerks that had to sit there and manually type all the information. It's no longer required. This is automatically being built. We're automatically entering you into the Interstate Identification Index, which law enforcement knows is III.
Sure.
So that arrest record immediately becomes available to law enforcement throughout the country.
And some people who, you know, you hear about the technology and the quickness and things like that, and some people are worried about privacy issues and things like that. But basically, this is nothing more than just an enhancement on what we've always been able to do legally for processing people who are arrested. It's not that they're going to start fingerprinting people just as they're walking down the street.
No.
Right?
What has actually happened here is we took a process that was manual and automated it. And it's to benefit the citizens of the state of New Jersey.
Absolutely.
You know, it's a shame when a known criminal is accidentally released by law enforcement because we just didn't know who he was.
Sure.
So with the AFIS system up and operational in New Jersey, we're trying to eliminate that. Hopefully we'll be able to get live scans throughout the state of New Jersey for law enforcement purposes. Right now we're processing approximately, I'd say about somewhere between 40 and 45% of all the criminal arrests in New Jersey come in via live scan. So we have to get that number up. Hopefully within the next several years we'll be able to get up to about 80%. Yeah. But then again, it requires some commitment. Sure. And there are some things that have to happen. What I'd like to show you now is what we call our latent fingerprint area.
Yeah,
Take a walk. Hey.
Her pay scale is out. It's unbelievable.
This is going to cost me a lot of money. Is that what you're telling me?
Hey, this is our star. Yeah, Joe, huh? Okay, you ready?
Certainly.
Okay, this is a latent fingerprint processing area. Latent fingerprints are fingerprints that are left behind at a crime scene. You know, we used to all watch the movies in the early 60s where a guy would walk into a room, touch a cup, and all of a sudden, you know, he'd say, "Dano, take that cup and send it to the FBI." 20 minutes later, he'd come back and tell you who the guy really was. Yeah. That was television. True make-believe. Because there was no way to really search all those prints that quickly.
Sure.
And what this machine has given us the ability to do is to take a fingerprint that's left at a crime scene and electronically search it against the entire database. We only search what we call known criminals. So if your fingerprints were submitted because you're an applicant for a particular job or licensing purpose, your prints are not in this database. We only look at the criminals, and we compare the fingerprints from a crime scene to those fingerprints of known criminals in the state of New Jersey. If you take a look, what she's doing right now is actually looking at an image that's a lift from a crime scene, an actual fingerprint image. She's manually plotting the minutia. The minutia are the finer points of the fingerprint that will be used to electronically conduct the search. We talked about things like this before. If we don't have a known suspect to compare that print to, and I were to give you a glass and send you across the street to the archives, you'd spend your entire life in that building.
Sure.
And never really know if that person is actually in the archive. This machine will do that in a matter of minutes. We'll search all the known criminal prints that we have on file. And if we don't get a hit or a possible suspect identification, we will keep the print, because all incoming criminal fingerprint cards are compared against what we call unsolved latents. So if there's a latent fingerprint from a crime scene, we search it, we don't get a hit on it, we don't get a possible identification, we simply save that print. So every time a criminal card comes in, maybe the individual was never arrested before, and we have that happen quite often.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
So when they do get the first arrest, that print comes across, and we get the hits. If you look over to the calendar over there, there's little stars on that calendar. Each one of those stars on that calendar represents a possible suspect identification for the month based on submissions from law enforcement. We have 3 locations where we take in prints from law enforcement. We do it here in West Trenton. We have a remote office in Troop A headquarters in Buena Vista in southern New Jersey. And we have a remote office in Totowa. That's northern New Jersey. So law enforcement, we're regionally available for law enforcement to bring us those prints from the crime scenes, and we'll actually process them. And for the most part, that's what we do, unless you have any other questions.
Well, it's amazing to me, too, and I'm sure yourself, especially having, as we were talking about before, having been trained by the FBI in fingerprint classification and latent identification. And they used to do that to us. They'd hand us a latent and a stack of cards and send you into the next room and say, come back and tell us who it is. And you'd run out of, well, I'd run out of time before I actually found the print, except a couple times getting lucky. So this is just amazing. And in years past, when fingerprints and latents were harder to compare, unless you had a suspect, cases just sat unsolved. And I know that in the past several years with the AFIS system, cases that were long thought dormant were picked right up again. Basically the same thing with a lot of the other types of technologies like DNA and things like that, where they've reopened cases. It's just, it's amazing. And I know you guys do.
Well, we have over 80,000 fingerprints in the database as far as latent submissions, where we don't have a possible suspect identification. And we really don't purge that database based on the nature of the crime. We realize that there are statutes of limitation. But if it was a sexual crime, even though that statute of limitations may be up for that particular crime, we think the law enforcement deserves to know when that individual is eventually identified.
Well,
they may not be able to prosecute them for that crime because the statute of limitations expired, but they will be positively identified if at all possible.
Sounds great to me. Well, listen, Sarge, I certainly appreciate you taking your time. I know that last minute and a lot of things you have to squeeze out of the way. And this is amazing technology. I think we're just going to see more and more of this helping law enforcement. And I'm glad folks like you are helping the rest of us. As myself, as I told you, we're trying to get a live scan machine, and I called up and you gave me way more information than I needed. But it certainly helped me in writing the grant and things. So I thank you.
Well, your success is our success.
Well, great. I like that thinking. And listen, folks, for myself and my guests here at State Police Headquarters in Trenton, stay tuned next time for NJ Law, when we'll try to have something equally as interesting. And for myself, my guests, God bless, take care, and see you soon.